Speaking of shaking out the cobwebs, that's how they used to describe the concussion, right, back in the day. Oh, yeah, he got his bell rung, he's shaking out the cobwebs. Now they send you to a blue tent, right? Now they put you in a protocol. That's what happened with Kody Kessler last night. The Eagles, who cares? They win a preseason game, who cares? I care about Kody Kessler, I'm not saying, but who cares about the final score, right?
No one.
Final score never matters.
No.
Right? Although Thorson did play pretty well. Clayton Thorson got to come in and to really evaluate how the grades went last night. Our first edition's on our website right now, 973ESPN.com. We bring in the pride of Fox 29 television sports.
Wow.
That'd be Scott Grayson. Hey, buddy, I don't know that I publicly got to congratulate you on your TV gig.
I appreciate that. It's really like, I don't know how we get this going any higher after that intro, man. I appreciate that.
It's all downhill from here.
It pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Especially when you talk about grading a preseason game.
Right. Well, that's dedication to your craft, sir. And I did notice that the red pen was not out as much. You know, normally we like to work for the bad grades up to the good grades. And full disclosure, no Fs, no Ds. You know, I mean, it's preseason, and I think Grayson was in a giving mood.
Well, it's just, you know, you see the guys. There's so many guys that play. You know, everybody gets their 1-2 quarters of snaps, and then next thing you know, it's on to another guy. So, I mean, you know, I'll give you one that stood out to me is, you know, and I wasn't sure how to handle it, but I gave Andre Dillard a C. He, of course, is the guy who gave up the unblocked blindside hit on Kody Kessler that knocked him out of the game, and who knows for how long. I mean, to me, you know, I like Andre Dillard. I really think he's got a future here. I think he's got a bright future here. He does so many things already at a young age that you kind of have to teach these guys more of it. Blocking techniques and skills and ways to handle and change things up to keep the other guy unknowing of what you're doing to block him. But you give a guy a free shot at a quarterback on the blind side like that, and bad things like this are going to happen. So that's basically why I gave him a C and knocked him down a little bit.
How about your take, though? Because Josh brought this point up, and I did not. Full disclosure, you know, I saw a tweet. We're watching the Philly stuff happen, and I saw a tweet that said, you know, Doug Peterson coming to the podium now. And I said to my girlfriend's son, do you want to watch Doug Peterson at the podium, or do you want to stay with this Philly stuff? And he goes, stay with the Philly stuff. He goes, don't you get a transcript of Doug? And I'm like, yeah, sure, that's right, I do. I guess Doug passed it off and said Kessler, that he put the blame on Kessler. Is that just him trying to protect the rookie, or do you believe, like Josh does, that, you know, Kessler made the wrong read?
Well, I mean, Kessler can't hold the ball on that, but, I mean, you cannot give up linemen. I don't care who you are, how quickly you get rid of the ball, even Eli, right, when he gets rid of the ball in less than 2 seconds. If you're not blocked and you're in the NFL, as a defensive lineman, you're going to go ask Brandon Graham if he needs 2 seconds unblocked to go get somebody, because he'll tell you, I'll get there. And you know, I find it hard to believe you blame Kody Kessler on that, because when you watch the replay, you clearly see every other guy is picked up on that line by a lineman, except for this guy that Dillard let go. And you know, it's a rookie mistake. It is what it is. And if Kessler didn't get hurt on the play, we're probably not talking about it,
right,
you know, nearly as much. But, you know, it's exactly what you fear, right, if you're looking at Carson Wentz this year and think all it takes is one hit, one play to knock a guy out, and now you don't know how long it's going to be in the protocol. And when you factor in the other injuries at quarterback for Sudfeld, now you're down to your only healthy quarterbacks being Thorson and Carson Wentz as you're going into a joint practice session, and you don't want to play Wentz in the preseason. That's clear. Fine. But you got to have somebody to take those snaps until you get through this preseason. And this is what you're seeing here. Until, you know, do the Eagles have a need to go out and make a move right now for a quarterback? You could argue no. They don't have an urgent need, but you got to get a camp arm in there at this point, I think.
Right. Go ahead.
You know, so it's tough to see where the Eagles go from here. And, I you know, getting back to your original question, I don't agree with Doug. I don't think you blame Kessler on that play. I mean, he was throwing the ball at the time that he got hit too. So, well, I mean, how quickly do you need him to get rid of the ball in that situation? It's just an unblocked guy. It's got to be picked up.
Yeah, I don't know if it was blame or spin, but definitely Doug trying to deflect some of the criticism, I think. Your other C, by the way, was a guy who I've always advocated for. I think this guy is a solid NFL offensive lineman. That said, he may not be a solid NFL center, and you did not grade Steph Wisniewski, very well based on his work at center.
Well, it's one of the most basic things that you need to have in the game, which is a solid exchange from center to quarterback. Now, I agree with you, and I think you said that well. I like Wisniewski a lot. He's a solid veteran. There have been times in the past I wondered why he hasn't gotten more opportunities, particularly at guard. I think he's a solid guard. Obviously, he's getting reps here at the backup center to Kelsey, which you need to give him so that if that situation arises in season, he's a little more ready to do it. The thing that bugged me the most, as I put in the grades, was just his snaps were not consistent. And some of that you could basically argue that he was working with Kessler all week, and now Thorson's in there with them, and those two probably haven't worked much. But there were some – there was one near the goal line that he fired a missile, a flat-out missile back at Thorson. I don't know how you expect the quarterback to catch that snap. It's like it was a little low and it was hard. And then there was another one, too, that was dropped by Thorson, maybe more on him than Wisniewski, but it's the most basic thing that they need to get down, which is that exchange from the ball to the quarterback, the center to the quarterback. And, I just like to see Wisniewski polish that up a little bit as we head into the third preseason game next week.
All right, Scott, let's get into grades that PT and I aren't used to seeing, and that's the A's and the B's. So the B's now, Brandon Graham. He didn't play very much, but you gave him the grade of a B. So how do you assess what we saw out of Graham?
I wanted to give him an A because I really liked what I saw in the limited snaps he was out there. But when you're only playing 5 to 10 snaps, I don't know how to give an A because you just don't have the workload. But let's run him down. I like the way he got off the ball. I really did. I saw a younger Brandon Graham out there, a guy who got off the ball well. He was creating pressure. Now, you could argue he's probably playing against twos on the other side, and you'd like to think he's going to win that battle every time. But he got off the line quick. He, at times, even got by before the blocker could get much of a hand on him. So he was really creating some good pressure. And when you look back at some of the issues the Eagles have had in the past, it's that, and Jim Schwartz has said it, they need the rush to get there quicker, and then your secondary doesn't have to cover as long. It just makes everybody's job easier. And I thought Brandon Graham looked like the Brandon Graham of old. Like I said, a younger version that I'm hoping he'll be able to stay fresh, be able to come out there with those kind of rushes on a quarterback in the games this season. I liked what I saw out of him. Just not enough snaps, in my opinion, to grade him an A.
A lot of A's to be had, as you discussed, Brandon Graham. Borderline A, but you gave him a B. Moving to the A column now, there was a lot of A's to be given out. You gave out 8 of them. And one area I want to focus in on is the backfield. The running back is a position that we've talked about a lot over the past recent years. Last year was kind of a mess with injuries and a lot of other aging players, Sproles, losing Blunt, the list goes on and on. But Myles Sanders, that's a name that we're going to be talking about a lot throughout the season, and we already have been talking a lot about him. He started the game off nice. He had a big hole in the first play, turned it into 12 yards. What'd you see from him yesterday? And really just in general, what are your thoughts about Myles Sanders?
I'm excited to see the kid perform. I like the core and the committee the Eagles have in the backfield. I'm eager to see Corey Clement get back out there as well. But when you look at Myles Sanders, what I saw yesterday was a guy who appeared to be pretty patient at times and wait for that hole to open up. He did have that big hole in the first play of the game. He didn't get a lot of carries himself, 5 carries total. But every time he got the ball in his hands, he moved a pile. He also was shifty enough with his cuts to get through a hole or find a crease to turn what might have been no gain, as we've seen many times in this running game last year, into something that was a little more productive. And, every time you're getting those 2, 3, 4 yards, you're winning the battle on the play that helps set up a makeable or more makeable second and even third down. And that's the goal, I think, for this offense and the offense that Doug Peterson runs. And I really do like the way that Myles Sanders runs. Then you flush in a Jordan Howard. And you even have after that, like I said, a Corey Clement. Josh Adams didn't look bad. I didn't grade him yesterday. But and Boston Scott isn't going to make this team as a running back. I'd be shocked if he did. But the way he ran, granted it was late fourth quarter, guys are worn down, you'd think. He ran the ball well. I just thought that overall, you're right in terms of the backfield. I thought it showed up pretty well yesterday. And, you do have to give some of that credit to the way the holes are blocked and those guys then have the holes to run through. Look, I'm excited to see Myles Sanders play here. I think he was a really good pickup at the time they got him. And I think he's going to give Doug Peterson exactly what he wants out of that backfield.
Some other familiar names are on your A list. Vinny Curry, Malcolm Jenkins, Doug Peterson, Clayton Thorson. He obviously stepped in some extended time there. He had a nice game. I'll let you pick, Scott, out of the names that I just rattled off. Who do you kind of want to break down or who really stood out, if any of them, out of those names?
Well, I'll give you this one first, and I'll go quick with it, too, is Malcolm Jenkins. This guy was late arriving to camp because he wanted to make a statement. Feels he deserves more money, but he didn't go and do the Ezekiel Elliott round of holding out, or even the Le'Veon Bell where he's going to say, I'm done for the year unless you pay me. The guy made a statement and then showed up, and he came to work, brought his lunch pail, put his helmet on, and off he went. The guy plays in the preseason because he wants to hit somebody. And to me, that's what you need out of a leader, is a guy who's going to go out there and play by example. And you could even put, I think, Brandon Graham in this category as well for playing last night. Let me go out there. Let me make a few plays. Let me lead by example and show these guys how it's supposed to be done. And Malcolm Jenkins did that. He was making plays all over the field like he does, up on the line of scrimmage, more back off the line of scrimmage. And he was shooting through the holes sometimes and just making the Jaguars, I thought, look bad. But to me, what I singled out most was his leadership and that ability to go out there and do that kind of thing. Doug Peterson, I like the way he used his challenges. There's been some times in the past, and we've all done it, right? Doug throws the flag, and you're going, oh, God, there's a lost challenge. What's he doing? Well, he won 2 challenges last night, including where he challenged that new pass interference rule, which I think you have to do if you're a coach. You have to see how that's going to be conducted. Preseason's the perfect time to see how they're going to go back to review that. Was this enough of a hindrance to the receiver to overturn a no call and call now pass interference after the fact? Gave the ball to the Eagles on the 1 yard line. They turn it into a touchdown. That's the kind of stuff, and that's why I gave Peterson an A. Then you talked about Clayton Thorson. I'll highlight him real quick. Look, the question is, do the Eagles need to go out and get a backup quarterback? In my opinion, I don't think so. Now, is Clayton Thorson the backup quarterback? Right now, I think he showed enough yesterday to say, let's give him another week to find out. You have that luxury. It's the preseason. You don't need to go out and get Colin Kaepernick or do any of this kind of wild stuff that some people are throwing around. I think, let Kody Kessler try to get through the concussion protocol. Then you get Nate Sudfeld back, 3-4 weeks from now. I think you're fine. And Clayton Thorson, to me, I like the poise the kid showed. Made some changes at the line of scrimmage as well. Some good productive changes out of a bad play into something that got some yards. So, I'm willing to say, let's see this kid perform a little bit more next week and see if he has a little bit more of what it takes to maybe handle that reign for the first 2, 3, 4 weeks of the season.
Scott, how many more years are we going to go that Kaepernick's name is brought up?
That's a great question. Probably another 5 to 10 years. No kidding. I mean, this guy is always mentioned when there's an opening somewhere. And you know what? Everybody's afraid to take that chance on him, which is a little unfortunate. The guy has talent. He has enough talent to be a backup in this league. Are you kidding me? But, at this point, it's not something I think the Eagles need to do. It's certainly not something I think they need to, or the kind of distraction they need to interject into their locker room, quite frankly. Again, this locker room to me has good chemistry. This team is certainly built to be productive, but it is scary when you see the way that Eagle quarterbacks have gone down to injury going back the last couple of years with Wentz. Even Foles was hurt at times with the arm injuries, and now you got 2 quarterbacks. They certainly have to try to find a way to keep these guys upright and healthy.
Scott Grayson, upright and healthy, and joining us for Grayson's Grades. The first edition, the preseason edition, will be with us the rest of the way now. Every time there's an Eagles game the day after, you can hear him on the radio for Grayson's Grades. Plus, go to our website, 973ESPN.com, to read those Grayson's Grades. He's our man on the scene. Scott, really appreciate you coming on, buddy, and look forward to catching up with you soon.
Pete, Ryan, always a pleasure to talk to you guys, and congratulations on your Saturday show, Pete.
Oh, thanks, Scott. I appreciate that. You too. Your Saturday. See, Scott and I each have Saturday shows.
I need
Ryan.
a Saturday show.
It's karma.